We're here today in Mark chapter 11, and this chapter, I notice a theme in it. I don't know if this was a theme that was ordained by God or if it's just something that I see, but that's what I'm going to talk about today. And the theme is this, that there is the authority that Jesus has, you know, and it's really the faith in Jesus' authority. You know, there's different aspects, as we've talked about in previous chapters. You know, there's the kind of faith, you know, like the disciples in the boat. You know, it's like, do you have faith that God's looking out for you even when he's not there? Do you have faith that he's, you know, that he has your best interest in mind? Do you have faith that he's going to, you know, get you through the storms? But this is a certain kind of faith. This is a very direct faith that has to do with your salvation. And it is faith in his authority. And by his authority, I mean faith that he is God. So, what happens in the beginning here is this wind too much? I'll find out. Happens in the beginning is that he is coming into Jerusalem. You know, this is nearing the end of his ministry. You know, we're on the home stretch now. And so what's happening here is he decides that he's gonna go into the city, and so he asks his disciples to grab this colt. Now it's a colt that they'd never seen before. They didn't really ask. You know, but he says, go get this colt, and if anybody asks, tell them that the Lord needs it, and he'll send it right back. And so here, I mean, right away, who else would have the authority to just be like, all right, I'm taking your colt, and, you know, nothing needs to be said about it. It's not like he's stealing the colt. However, what is interesting to me is, what must he have done in the minds of the people that owned the colt? Because when they asked, or when they started to take the colt, the people said, why are you taking our colt? And they said, the Lord needs it. Now in our culture, you know, you could be like, all right, just borrow the colt, it's no big deal. But I have a feeling that it wasn't like that back then. They would have been like, no, you're trying to steal our colt, you know, over my dead body. but he must have like given them some sort of word, some sort of understanding that like this colt was meant to be something special, and they must have known that it was okay. So clear sign of his authority there. But then he has what's called the triumphal entry. So he comes in and people start yelling Hosanna as he's walking in. And you know, that's a way of saying like the Messiah. Like the Messiah is coming. Look, it's the Messiah. And so these people, they have this faith, but you know, it's said, I don't think in this book, but the Pharisees at this point were saying, you need to keep your people from yelling Hosanna as you come in. And Jesus is like, you know, he doesn't say anything, you know, like, why would I stop them? I had heard, and I haven't done the math on this, there's a prophecy that from the time that Nehemiah was going to start the redoing of the temple, that there was a prophecy that so many years from that time the Messiah would come. And some people have done the math, and I have not. And so you have to do a little conversion from how the years were done from time that the decree was made. But some people say, and again, I haven't done it myself, that it is to the day that Jesus did his triumphal entry. We would know because we know when the Passover celebrations would start, and you know, we know the year that this happened. And so yeah, you could figure that out, and some people claim that this was the day, you know, this was the day that this was supposed to happen, to the very day. So the next day, you know, they wake up and they go into the city, and as they go in, Jesus tries to get some figs from a tree. Now, I remember we went through this in Matthew, and it's just a weird story to me, but he's going and he looks and he sees leaves but no fruit. Now, fig trees are weird because they start growing fruit before they start growing leaves. And so if there's leaves on the tree but no fruit, that means it's an unfruitful tree. It said it wasn't the time for figs yet, which actually means that, you know, they weren't perfectly ripe yet. It doesn't mean that there wouldn't be any figs on it. So he goes to the tree, sees no figs, and says, "May you never bear fruit again." And then he goes into the temple. So he goes into the temple, and he basically starts turning over tables and of the people selling offerings, but also of the money changers. And you might think, by what authority is he doing this? You know, who has the right to just walk in and just turn over the tables and, you know, tell everybody to get out and yell at them and say, you know, this was supposed to be a house of prayer and you guys have turned it into a den of thieves. If someone did that to me while I was there, I think I would be like, who do you think you are? I would rightfully look at it and be like, by what authority do you have to just turn over all these tables and create such a ruckus? But if you have faith in this authority, this is a temple to him. This is God's temple, and Jesus is God incarnate. So yeah, of course he has the authority to go into his own temple and say, no, this is wrong. I cannot abide all of this, you know, the money changers were basically taking money from people, and you know, it was just a cheapening. You know, he needed to cleanse the temple. So anyways, on his way back, they come back and they see the tree that he had cursed, and it was dead, just completely dead. And Peter looks at him and says, Jesus, look, the tree that you cursed. Now, it doesn't say that he asked a question. He was just like, oh my gosh, look what happened. And Jesus doesn't explain exactly what this is all about. You know, we look at it and we think, you know, the fig tree is a symbol of the destruction of the temple, you know, because it's kind of sandwiched in between, you know, him going to the temple and cleansing the temple. And so we look at it as a prophecy, many people do, as a prophecy that the temple was going to be destroyed. However, when Peter points it out, he says, have faith in the Lord. You know, and if you believe that you could tell that mountain to go into the sea, it'll happen. And so what Peter must have been asking us, like, how did you have the power? Like, by what ability? Maybe even by what authority, if we're going along with the theme of this you know, how did you curse the tree? And he's saying, have faith in me, you know, have faith in my authority, not just to be the creator, but to be the one who, you know, can bring destruction, you know, can destroy this temple. So last thing that happens in this chapter is the most overt example of this, and that is that the Pharisees come right up to Jesus and they say, by what authority are you doing these things? Now Jesus could just say, well, by the authority that I'm God. And he would be completely valid in what he's doing here. But he doesn't say that, because he knows that they're not really interested. You know, they're going to debate with him whether or not he is God or not. And so what he ends up doing is he says, you know, let me ask you a question. By what authority did John do his miracles? Or not his miracles, but by what authority was he doing his baptism? And he stumped him there, because he's thinking that, you know, I think they even said it out loud. You know, I think they were even talking out loud when you read it in this passage. You know, they were like, look, if we say that it was by some other authority other than God, that's not going to work, because all the people truly believe that John the Baptist was a prophet. But if we say that it was by God, he's going to say, well, it was by the same authority. So they come back to him and they say, well, we don't know. And he says, well, if you don't know, then neither will I tell you by what authority. So pretty clever way of, you know, getting out of the fight, especially when they weren't really interested in the answer. But it just goes to show, you know, they had faith in John the Baptist, but John the Baptist was just pointing the way to someone else. Jesus, he is claiming to be God. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. He is claiming to be God, and here in this chapter he is proving that he is, and that he has authority over everything. So anyways, that is Mark chapter 11. Have a great day. Bye.